From Washington, the Mclaughlin Group, the American original. For over 2 decades, the sharpest minds, best sources, hardest talk. The Mclaughlin Group is brought to you by MetLife. Guarantees for the if in life.
Issue 1. Happy 4th.
I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy. Yankee Doodle do or die. A real live nephew of my Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July.
A tall, proud city, built on rocks stronger than oceans, windswept, God-blessed, and teeming with people of all kinds living in harmony and peace.
In 1989, 20 years ago, our 40th president saluted America. Margaret Thatcher, former Prime Minister of the UK, also recognized our exceptionalism. Americans and Europeans alike sometimes forget how unique is the United States of America. No other nation has been built upon an idea, the idea of liberty. Question, is the spirit of American exceptionalism alive and well across the land this 4th of July? Rich.
Yes, very much so across the land, but I worry about Washington, John. If you look at what at American exceptionalism, the hallmarks of it vis-a-vis other Western nations, a real focus on individualism and self-reliance, a crusading sense of mission around the world, and a really healthy distrust of government. And Barack Obama and the Democrats are cool or hostile to all 3 aspects of that exceptionalism and have the biggest opportunity in decades to move us in a more Euro direction.
Eleanor.
Look, I think the election of Barack Obama affirmed America's exceptionalism, and I think the country really feels good about itself, still feels good. And the things that make us unique, freedom of speech, the fact that we have a separation of church and state, and the fact that we are an immigrant nation where people can come from all over and be welcome and be part of the American experience. You really can't do that in any other country. But it's how we export those beliefs that have gotten us into trouble. And I think when you talked about the crusading liberty or crusading, that is now associated with invading another country without a good enough reason. And I think Barack Obama is reformulating how we are reacting to the rest of the world, and he's exporting our ideals in a very different way.
Let's pause right there. Obama salutes the 4th. After the Reagan-Thatcher comments 2 decades ago, Barack Obama also saluted American exceptionalism.
The United States remains the largest economy in the world. We have unmatched military capability.
Question, Obama also salutes values and American exceptionalism in that same quote. Did the election of a president of color, and I think you were referring to this, redeem America's standing as an exceptional country?
Well, I don't think there was any redeeming to be had. In fact, Eleanor mentioned the invasion of Iraq, but that was done to liberate the people of Iraq from under the jackboot of a crushing tyranny. Afghanistan, the same thing. The United States has done more good for more people and has been more generous than any other nation on the face of the earth. We're only turning 224 years old this year, John, for such a young country to be built upon this idea of freedom, individual freedom. And as Rich points out, distrust of government. You know, when you point out, play that clip of Obama, I think he was at the G20 there. He was asked by a European member of the audience, do you, sir, believe in American exceptionalism? And he said, yes, I do, the way, well, the Brits believe in British exceptionalism, or the Greeks believe in Greek exceptionalism. And my fear is that Obama doesn't really believe that America is so unique, and that what he is trying to do in importing this kind of European brand of socialism to America economically is that he actually considers America one of many countries rather than
let me
a
put your
very
fears to
unique.
rest, my dear Monica. Let me put your fears to rest. He recognizes we are an exceptional country. That's why he loves America as much as anybody on this panel does. Everybody has different interpretations of what that exceptionalism is. No question, we are a nation that, in my mind, is bound by one ideal of opportunity. The pursuit of opportunity was what this land was founded on. And it's not that our founders were so anti-government. They were anti-government that got in the way of your opportunity, got in the way of individual achievement. That's why they overthrew one government and formed a new one of their own. But I think that, when America, the world knows we're the superpower. Well, they don't like for us to get too full of ourselves, though. You know, when Obama won, I think just the very fact that there was a strong contrast between Barack Hussein Obama and George Walker Bush, chosen by the same electorate, that the world could see this is a real democracy, and that we do care about opportunity here.
Let's raise the voltage here. Another president speaks to the subject.
It was Bill Clinton who most sharply said why this 233-year-old nation of ours is so independent, so different. Because without it, and only it, the world cannot last.
America stands alone as the world's indispensable nation.
There you are. We're indispensable to the world. You're going to defend that statement?
I wouldn't. I don't think the world wants to do without us, because you just look at how they keep turning to us for leadership.
In what sense does the world depend on us if we disappear?
Well, look at, for example, the European nations criticizing Iran, while we have been a little more guarded in that, because we know that the world expects us to actually do something, to follow up those words.
Can I address this Clinton statement? Because when he talked about the indispensable nation, that was a phrase that was really filtered through a prism of liberal internationalism that ran right through Wilson, through FDR, through Kennedy, through Carter, and through Clinton. And Barack Obama is turning his back on that tradition. And going back to one of Monica's
What do you mean by that?
Look at what Clarence was talking about Iran. Who was coolest to the Iranian aspirations? It was Barack Obama. At the same time, the Europeans were stepping up.
You mean because of Obama's sluggish condemnation?
Sure. And look at Obama abroad. No American president has ever established as much critical distance between himself and his country as Obama has abroad, especially in that Cairo.
That verges on slander. Does anybody here seriously think that Barack Obama does not stand with the expression of a desire for a legitimate counting of an election in Iran? And when you talk about crusading,
the Europeans were faster.
When you talk about we're backing away from crusading liberalism, what do you want us to do? Attack Iran?
No, of course not. Just stand up forthrightly.
Barack Obama believes this country is exceptional enough that we can recognize that other countries are exceptional as well, which is why he made that speech in Cairo and recognized all the contributions that the Muslim world has made.
Well, before that speech in Cairo, before that speech, he's made speech after speech on foreign soil, apologizing for the United States, apologizing for perceived injustices
switch the topic now. The fact is, conservatives don't want us to meddle overseas until we don't meddle. And they say, Barack Obama, why aren't you meddling in Iran's affairs? And what happened when Obama listened to the right and ratcheted up the rhetoric? What happened? The Iranians immediately began to blame all their troubles on us.
Even when he was saying nothing.
Relinquish, please. Relinquish. Exit question.
Saying nothing for a week.
Ronald Reagan extolled America in 1989. The 20th century. That century was called the American century. Will this century, the 21st century, also be an American century, or will it be called the Chinese century? Rich Love.
It'll be called the American century. This run will keep on going. The Chinese have a lot of problems, unstable political system.
You don't think we have a lot of problems?
We are the most pluralistic, open, and dynamic country in the world.
And we're not in decline.
And that's their fundamental strength.
We're not in decline.
No, maybe like the tiniest bit relative to the rest of the world. But look, compared to where we were after World War II, when the rest of the world was devastated, yes, there's been a small secular decline.
Eleanor, what do you think?
Still the greatest country in the world.
The story about the shorthand of the 21st century is unfolding. You know, what will the definition be? Economic power? I don't know. I mean, I still think America does stand strong and proud in this world. And to say that President Obama is not proud of America, after all, that's exactly what you
said. Please stick with the question. Just hold it.
No one said that.
She said that about 30 seconds ago.
I did not say that.
A man who has gotten the gifts from this country that he has gotten, to question whether he is proud enough and patriotic enough.
Okay.
Hard-earned politics. I will not have you slander me. That is not what I said.
Monica, go ahead.
Getting back to the exit question.
Will the 21st century be the American century?
It will remain the American century.
Really?
The United States is the indispensable power. We have the full portfolio of power from military to economic, despite our problems. And the United States will remain the bulwark for freedom around the world, despite Obama's lollygagging on Iran.
What do you think?
I think because it is lollygagging on Iran is part of the reason why we shall remain a superpower. And, you know, China is actually held back by their own repressive regime. And you look at all the creativity in China,
You don't
the
see that
enterprise.
regime modifying itself?
As
far as
they're
capitalism
still trying to
is
figure it out because they still keep putting a lid on the internet. They keep putting a lid on innovation. They don't take care of their own people.
But it's not the rigor it was 10 years ago.
You know, the fact is the people, the creative minds in China are following our model.
The answer is...
If this is the China century, it won't be the kind of China that we know right now.
It won't be China because China is too brittle and it'll go the way of the Soviet Union, probably.
The regime.
But not certainly. The 21st century will be the American century, and it will be the best yet. When we come back, ambassadors then, ambassadors now.
When planning for retirement these days, the forecast is full of ifs. If I'm too exposed to downturns, if I'll go through my savings too fast. To help you feel more confident, consider putting a portion of your savings in a MetLife variable annuity. When the market goes up, it gives your assets the potential to grow while protecting you if the market goes down with a steady stream of income. Let America's #1 annuity provider help you stay on course with guarantees for the if in life. Get answers about annuities at MetLife.com.
We've provided a platform for success for some of the most respected companies in the country. We fueled their growth with a highly educated workforce and a can-do, pro-business attitude. Just ask our trusted business partner, Toyota. Visit Mississippi.org to see what we can do for you.
Issue 2, ambassadors then, ambassadors now.
When it comes to hiring people in my administration, the litmus test will not be based on party or ideology, but on qualification and experience.
Except for U.S. ambassadors, sir, big donors get plum spots. Since the 1960s, about 1 out of 3 U.S. ambassadorships have been given to big donors to the president's political campaign. President Obama is no exception. 12 of his 34 ambassador nominees thus far, with about some 140 yet to go, have been big campaign contributors. Obama's choices for ambassadors to France and London each raised between $300,000 and $500,000 for the Obama presidential campaign. When asked about Obama's choices, this exchange occurred between White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs and a White House correspondent.
Traditionally, the posts in Paris and London do go to personal friends of the president as opposed to career diplomats. What is Mr. Rivkin's qualifications to be ambassador to France? Does he speak French? Is he a close personal friend of the president?
He does. He is a friend of the president. I think the president saw him in the last few days. Again, as I said, and I'll be happy to give you a bio for Charlie.
Doesn't address that. And Mr. Sussman for Great Britain or for United Kingdom
He speaks English.
At the time when the country was founded, a different set of ambassadors were on the scene. Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, ambassadors to London and Paris. Appointments were different in those days from what is happening today, as noted by the president of the American Academy for Diplomacy. Quote, "The practice of rewarding donors is a remnant of the spoils system we abolished in the civil service. It is a dismal testimony to the importance of money in our electoral system."
Question, is it a form of political corruption for wealthy campaign contributors to be able to buy an ambassadorship? In other words, pay for play.
I don't know that I would call it corruption, but it's the way the game is played by Republican administrations and Democratic administrations. And John, did we have this discussion when President Bush was in office or President Reagan was in office? I don't think so. But look, when the founding fathers were around, those ambassadorial posts to France and England were really critical posts. Today they're mostly entertainment venues. So I don't think any harm is really being done. And
so no serious work is done at the ambassadorial level. Is that what we're hearing?
Well, in fact, yes.
Posts like the ambassador Iraq have gone to Christopher Hill, who is a very experienced Foreign Service officer.
Right.
I'd love to change the system, but I don't think it's going to happen because it's a way for presidents to reward their political donors, and that's the way the game's played, and I don't see any serious
Are they equivalently buying inside access, these ambassadors? And if so, is that a quid pro quo, and is it corruption?
Of course it's a quid pro quo, and it's been done for decades and decades now. And in fact, the more money you give, you're trying to score a better ambassadorship, right? You don't want to get stuck in like some backwater, so you give more and more money so that maybe you might be appointed to the Court of St. James or Paris.
What are the pluses?
Well, the pluses are you get a great gig, you get a cushy
residence.
What are the
pluses for the president and the country?
Well, if you plan on running for re-election, you're going to want those donors to give back to you
so
when you run in 4
payoff,
years.
yes.
Of course, but it works both ways.
Yeah, and it's not just limited to ambassadors. Other appointments, cabinet appointments, can in fact involve
sometimes, yeah.
involve big donors. But John, I still want to get to the pluses of an ambassador being able to buy the appointment, so to speak. Aren't they mostly his friends?
But John,
and aren't his friends very candid with him? And then don't they tell them, don't they, in other words, have a rapport with that circle? In other words, that's exactly the kind of a person they would like to have on hand in a country, informing of them of what's really going on with the leadership of the country.
John, Eleanor is right. These posts that are bought are in countries that really don't matter very much.
Well,
really?
Ironically.
And, Ironically. Look, what matters is the Middle East, Asia, really serious countries where you have turmoil, and it really matters.
Not London, not Paris,
London
not
is one of the two capitals that run the world, New York and London.
Bahamas not particularly important. It's the Middle East and Asia that really matter, the big countries in Asia.
Yeah, John, ask any correspondents, which I have been in a number of these countries, and they'll tell you, if you really want to know what's going on, you don't go to the ambassador, you go to the consul.
What's wrong?
And that's especially true in places like Paris
and London. What's wrong with having bureaucrats run the ambassadorship? What's wrong with it?
Let me say something about Mr. Rifkin, on Mr. Rifkin's behalf. I mean, he used to be in charge of the country of the company that gave us the Muppets. He knows how to communicate across cultural lines, John, and how to build commerce.
What else do you need?
And he speaks French.
As a question, should the practice of appointing ambassadors based on their campaign donations be outlawed? Yes or no?
No, absolutely not. These are political appointees. He can appoint whoever he likes. It does show that all the rhetoric, though, about changing the ways of Washington from Obama was boob bait for the liberal elite.
What about a Jefferson and an Adams in those positions?
Well, we'll never see their likes again. Benjamin Franklin, the most important diplomatic
achievement
ever in
You mean to say
American
if he
history,
combed the country, he couldn't find, maybe even within the editorial rooms of the National Review,
Sorry,
he couldn't find top-notch people to pick precisely because they would make excellent ambassadors.
Sure.
Or
maybe not quite on the John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas
You
Jefferson.
prefer to let them buy their way in?
Sure. Look, John, they buy an ambassadorship to the Bahamas. Who cares?
How do we get that?
I do on vacation there.
Quickly. You want to eliminate the practice or not?
It's not worth worrying about. It doesn't rise to that level. And besides, we've had some pretty good ambassadors who paid their way in, Pamela Harriman in France in particular. And these countries want people sent to them that are friends of the president and that they get a lot of social cachet from. That's what it's about.
Yes, it is done this way because there is a dearth of Thomas Jeffersons.
You know, Jimmy Carter says that our whole campaign finance system is legalized corruption. So that's the real issue here. As long as we have private finance, and I don't see that ending, then we're going to have people complaining every 4 years, but the system ain't going to change.
The present practice should be retained, and it should be retained because I don't think we want all bureaucrats in all ambassadorships around the world. Issue 3, check your facts, Chris.
You've got a shrinking Republican Party. Instead of waking up and saying, we got to look for a different solution, we got to look for positive ideas, they keep trying the old thing, and that old playbook means they're going to keep shrinking further and further.
Not so fast, Congressman. A new Gallup poll says that more Americans identify themselves still as conservative. 40%. That's more than any other ideological group. So the claim by many Republican leaders, namely that America remains a center-right nation, is true. Also, Look at President Obama. On the personal level, he's very popular, very well liked. 75% say so. They like Barack as a person, says an NBC poll. But on his policies, the president scores far differently. The economic stimulus, the bailout for auto companies, the health care plan. Polls show public discontent with all of these Obama offerings. So, many Republicans insist that not only will they recover, but that they will cream the Democrats in next year's midterm election.
We're in a regrouping period in time, and I think we'll be back. There's always pendulum swings in politics. I think you'll be surprised in 2010 with the kind of comeback that we're going to make here in the United States Senate.
Question, are the obituaries for the Republican Party premature, yes or no?
Yes, they are, John. If we are really seeing a sea change in Americans' relationship to the government, you wouldn't see the kind of numbers we're seeing about concerns about the deficit, doubts about Obama's health care plan. So this thing is very much in play.
Hello.
James Carville is sending out fundraising appeals saying it could happen again. Remember, we had a young president, we had big Democratic majorities, and look what happened in '94. It's a great fundraising vehicle, but I don't think the Republicans are going to come back in any great numbers.
Quickly.
Majority of independent voters are now very concerned about the deficit and the debt and the Democratic leadership. So I think the overreach by the Democrats is going to play to the advantage of the Republicans.
Well, I agree. The pendulum swings back and forth, and you're going to see people who naturally have some skepticism. But you know, I remember when Democrats were out in the wilderness like Republicans are now. It happened.
As Mark Twain said, rumors of my demise are greatly exaggerated. So too with the Republicans. Oh, we'll be right back with predictions.
The Mclaughlin Group is brought to you by Mississippi Development Authority. Visit Mississippi.org to see what we can do for you.
We've provided a platform for success for some of the most respected companies in the country. We fueled their growth with a highly educated workforce and a can-do, pro-business attitude. Just ask our trusted business partner, Toyota. Visit Mississippi.org to see what we can do for you.
For people close to retirement, there are plenty of ifs to go around. If our savings will last, if we should take Social Security when we hit 62 or 67. MetLife can strengthen your retirement plan by providing a lifetime stream of income that's guaranteed and that works together with your investments, helping you create a safety net that promises Happy New Years with guarantees for the if in life. Learn how MetLife can help you make the most of what you have in retirement.
Predictions, Rich.
Healthcare sinks beneath the waves on concerns over its cost and people losing their private insurance.
No health care.
Nope.
Hello.
$7.5 billion foreign aid bill for Pakistan went through the Senate with complete Republican support, signals a new day in Republicans' attitude to how important Pakistan is and the role that foreign aid plays.
Monica.
Iran just replaced Saudi Arabia as China's top crude oil supplier. So look for a lot more cooperation between the Chinese and the Iranians.
Even more than now.
Even more than now.
You're getting a lot of oil tips these days. No, I predict Obama's numbers will fall down to the low 50s before the year is out, but he will recover. But it's going to be a contest for the midterms.
I predict the U.S. dollar will not lose its AAA credit rating. Bye-bye. Happy Fall.